Alex Spiegelman on the bunny, wisely limiting his internet contact. Going into his sort of different kind of airplane mode here on the bunny. See, segue. In that we're taking off and trying new things. Always on one kind of musical adventure or another, but one thing I've been keen to do is talk to musicians on the show. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, the first person that I thought of was Bill Wurtz. Now, I urge everyone to go to billwurtz.com because it is sort of his magnum opus. It's the best way to understand the scope of his work. And it's an ongoing piece, all sorts of creations, writings, videos, songs, work tapes, and deceptively simple, but years of work there. But I reached out to Bill. I got to know him, as most people did, through the History of the Entire World, I guess, video on YouTube, which I also urge folks to go through, and another great portal into his work, in that it involves dialogue, and it involves music, and it involves just sort of a world-devouring, omnivorous scope. So we had a long, tangential, wonderful conversation that I edited down a little bit. Admittedly, all of documentary involves the perspective of the editor, so I tried to bring as little of that to the table as possible and just give you the gems from our conversation and also add some of Bill's music in for perspective. But I do urge folks to go check out his work for yourself, and we're going to be dipping into a couple of his songs as well. So, something new on the bunny. Stay tuned for my interview with the great Bill Wurtz. Bill Wurtz, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the show. I was really excited when you got back to me. I saw an interview that you did fairly recently. I did some research, but not so much so that I got in my head about it. But about like a minute and a half in, you like stopped the interview and dialed it back and were like, I want to acknowledge that this is extremely weird and I'm kind of feeling out of sorts right now. So I want to acknowledge that up top. It's weird to talk to you.
Thank you. Also, yeah, hi.
Hi.
No, that's true. That's true. I need to, it's going to be, I think I should keep a tally of how many of these things I've done because the brain scramble tends to reduce over time.
Yeah.
You never expect it. You think when you're privately, talking to your friends, you think, this is great. I could be on television right now. But then as soon as you are somewhere, it's a similar feeling to, when you visit the Grand Canyon, and then there's the part where you step into the Grand Canyon.
Oh, I've never been.
That part where you actually jump off the cliff and start tumbling through the air.
Right.
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
But I think that's true for everyone.
So we've played a bunch of your music on the show, and I love it, and people have really loved it and responded to it. But I feel like when I'm playing it, there's a lot that I'm missing too. There's so much to what you do that it's really hard to explain or summarize it, because there's visuals, there's dialogue, there's all sorts of sort of disciplines. Like, what's your relationship to the many different things you do? Is it like one thing to you? Is it a bunch of different things?
There's a tendency to want to do everything, to want to assume infinite different identities and do all that. But then there was sort of an epiphany at one point when I realized I have to admit that I'm just one person with one name, under one roof, one identity, and that's just the way I am. It was weird to have to admit that, but it was a breakthrough, though, to admit that as much as I want to do a million different things, I have to admit that I am just only one person, so I have to combine it all together.
Your music has a lot of humor to it, but it also isn't like gimmicky or silly or shticky. I love your sense of humor, but it doesn't really like ruin your music.
I think that's just the way life is. I don't like the idea of funny things being funny on purpose and being announced as such.
Yeah.
I don't really see how funny things would really work properly if they were always announced like, this is the funny thing, this is not the funny thing. To me, like, the most common sense thing to do is just reverse them. The thing that you think is supposed to be funny, make that the not funny thing, and the thing that's supposed to be the not funny thing, make that funny. Switching it back and forth, it's a guessing game.
Yeah,
that's the only way to have any fun, really, I find.
When I get older, I'm gonna be stronger, so I can lift up the whole entire world. I'm gonna hold it and lift it higher, higher than it's been before. When I hear music, I get excited. I'm gonna sing songs to the whole entire world. And when the whole world sings to the music, that's when I'll know it worked. But my friends say I'm still a baby. Then they threw away my baby shoes. Well, excuse me, I'm going sailing into the ocean blue. When I get older, I'm gonna be wilder and write poetry in my spare time. And I'll use some very interesting metaphors and then post my poems online. Here's a poem about rain.
The last handful of stuff I've seen you posting have been dialogues.
Yeah,
Tell me about that and why it's interesting to you and
it's
how it
that's
appears.
part of the picture. I still have, I'm still looking for the real sweet spot between the music and the non-music. I'm still moving toward that. I still haven't really figured it out, but it remains true for me that non-music and music are soulmates. And I'm still trying to really find a way to get them to live together and to work together. Actually doing things like similar to what filmmakers do.
Yeah.
If I really do want to be like in that medium,
Right.
I certainly was slow in admitting that because I don't see myself working in a team of 1,000.
Right.
And I don't like the idea of working multiple years just to put out one piece of work.
Yeah.
But I am starting to find some clever ways around that.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you have a lot of what you need in the sense that you're able to do dialogue and characters and 3D and tell stories. But do you feel like you're reaching the limitations of that?
No, but I mean, I'm expanding them.
Yeah.
Very, very gradually. I mean, I'm making crazy progress. I mean, my character animation systems are I mean, it's my own system, and I'm really in the last few years I've really delved deep into computer programming and stuff to really. That's the only way I've been able to do what I've been able to do, especially graphics.
Oh, by building your own
graphics-wise.
tools.
Yeah, a lot of programming to like automate things, and then automation on top of the automation, and that's how computer development pretty much works. You program a bunch of stuff, and it takes 1,000 years, and then that enables you to have this breakthrough tool that lets you do things in only 100 years instead of 1,000 years, and then you scramble around in the dark there, and then you eventually discover a tool that you can stack on top of that makes things take a shorter amount of time. And it's bizarre how. I mean, I studied the history of the world a few years back to make a video on it, like all the way through, like from animals to humans. It's shocking how much that reminds me of that. When I'm working on computer programming, I realize this is a natural property of like the universe, or a natural property of creative development. Because the exact same thing is happening as I'm developing these programs over years and months. Exact same thing happened with like humanity in like spending 1 billion years, and then finally they discover fire and stuff, and then finally they discover language, and then finally they discover how to write it down. And each time you discover something, your life gets a lot easier. Yeah, and each step goes quicker. It's crazy.
Well, do you know about Ray Kurzweil at all? Have you ever read any of his? Yeah,
I know about him. Yeah,
and I saw,
and he knows about that. In fact, that's his whole deal when he does Moore's law.
It's not linear progression. It has this like,
of course.
What do they call it? I forget the
exponential
name of it. Yeah,
exponential. Yeah.
So you feel like that you're getting exponential progress in your. I mean,
right. But the funny thing about that is, I mean, everyone always talks about exponential progress as if it's like some sort of thing that launches and takes off extremely suddenly and goes.
Right.
But a lot of people forget exponential growth actually goes extremely slow
For the
an
majority.
extremely long time
Right,
before you finally see that happen.
Yeah.
So that's kind of frustrating sometimes.
Congratulations, the world is now a bunch of gas in space. But it's getting closer together. And it's getting closer together. And it's getting closer together. It's a star. New shit just got made. Some stars burn out and die. Bigger stars burn out and die with passion and make some brand new, way crazier shit.
Space dust,
Which allows newer, more interesting stars to be made and then die and explode into
even crazier space dust.
I tend to be very, very, very careful, very scared, very hesitant for a long time.
Yeah.
To the point where you almost think that I'm not going to make it, that
Right.
I'm not going to get out of this, I'm not going to untangle myself because I'm so damn careful. And for some, I don't even fully understand this, but I know that it's something that happens to me. It applies to everything in my life. When I'm waking up in the morning,
Yeah.
I do not get out of bed. I just wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And finally, eventually, just when you think that I'm too late and I'm never going to make it, eventually I'm like out the door in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's the same way with like all of my work. It's the same way with everything I do. I was born that way. I was
Yeah.
2 weeks late, but I was extremely quick.
But then you popped right out. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's bizarre. It really applies to everything, and I really can't, I'm powerless to stop it, and it drives me absolutely crazy. But I've learned to just accept that.
Just did a bad thing. I regret the thing I did. And you're wondering what it is. I'll tell you what I did. Did a bad thing. I'm having a bad day. It's turning into a bad year. All the things I'm supposed to do and the places I'm supposed to go are canceled. Hey, what's the name of this game? How do you play it? And how long does it take? How many times is the game going to change? Hey, let me out of this place, out into the real world where maybe things can go my way. Oh, everything goes my way. Oh, everyone knows my name.
Well, songwriting is a really funny thing, and I think a lot of songwriters will say the same thing about it. It's a totally magical thing, and we don't know how it happens or where it really comes from.
Yeah.
And the comfortable speed for it to happen at is just about instantaneous. The song wants to be written as fast as it's played.
Right.
And ultimately, when you're songwriting, when you do eventually get the idea, which might be immediately or it might be after fumbling around in the desert for 1,000 years, eventually when that idea does happen and the actual songwriting does occur, it's at full speed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's at full speed. And you better be be good at writing it down or picking it up or recording it or whatever you got to do. You better catch it because you can't really, every time you stop it and try to play it back, you lose, it loses quality. So it's just a mysterious thing. Songwriting is a very mysterious thing. In one sense, yes, it's true that like the song truly wants to just drop out of the sky. But if you think that you've failed, if it doesn't drop out of the sky immediately, then you can get into a real cycle of failure and doubt. So you don't want to do that either. It's obnoxious how, maybe this is just me. Maybe this is just, again, like my brain destroying itself. But you also, I mean, you have to be open to both ways, you know?
Yeah.
Because the more you want it, here's the other thing, the more you want it, the less you will get it. I mean, the songwriting is very, very shy.
Yeah.
Like the song is very shy. It won't come to you if you press on it too hard.
I'm gonna write a song on the count of 3. I'm gonna do it right on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it looks like you believed me.
Let me ask you a bit of a weird question in the sense that there are all these technical disciplines that you're part of, but at the same time it seems like you have almost this sort of spiritual belief in how art is created. Are there any of those? Are there any sort of spiritual traditions or thinkers or what have you that have, that you found kinship with, that you admire?
I
like
think
to
so,
read?
but I wouldn't want to. I think so, but I wouldn't want to single any of them out individually because,
Yeah.
I don't know if I can. I certainly can't single anything out by name or anything.
Or a book that you've read, or a
no, couldn't single it out. In fact, that's the whole point. Is you can't really single out one thing individually.
No, absolutely. I mean, I understand that that inclination. Are you hesitant?
There's this time. I remember there was a time when a friend of mine invited me over and we listened to a bunch of music. And there's this feeling you can get into a sort of trance where you feel like the thing that you're listening to right now holds the freaking key to the universe.
Yeah.
It's really easy to get into that mindset. Well, easier. I mean, whatever. We find ourselves in that mindset sometimes, where whatever movie we're watching or thing we're listening to, we think, "Oh my God, this is it. This thing has got it. This thing has it."
Yeah.
And the thing is, that's true. But they're not the only ones who have it.
Yeah.
But it's true. They do. But also kind of everyone has it, but it's weird like that.
Well, no, it can be as much the people that you're hanging out with, or the time in your life, or the time of the evening, or the smell of what's being cooked in the room, or that kind of thing. Yeah,
yeah. But I think a general ground rule is that everything has it.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything in the world has the quality of knowing everything in the world. Everything in the world has that quality to it that it holds all the answers in a way. Really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I couldn't think of a better place to wrap up. Thanks for talking to me. Thanks for taking the time and sharing what you have.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Cool. All right. Have a good rest of your day, man.
All right.
Good talking
I'll
to
see you later.